Imagine a place so shrouded in mystery that even mentioning its name causes unease. A place where the walls whisper secrets and every corner hides a tale of terror. What if I told you that such a place exists, where shadows seem to have their own heartbeat and the air itself feels heavy with the weight of the past? Would you dare to step inside? Nestled deep within the Scottish Highlands stands Glamis Castle, a fortress that has stood the test of time since the 14th century. But this is no ordinary castle. Its history is soaked in blood, betrayal, and untold horrors. A place where the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. It is said that the very stones of Glamis Castle are imbued with the souls of the tormented, and the chilling stories of its haunted past have sent shivers down the spines of all who dare to enter. This ancient castle, with its grand turrets and hidden chambers, was once a royal residence, a place of power and prestige. But behind its majestic facade lies a darker, more sinister truth, a truth that has been whispered about for generations. For Glamis Castle is home to spirits that refuse to rest, souls bound to this earth by tragedy and despair. One of the most terrifying legends to come out of Glamis Castle is that of the monster of Glamis. In the early 1800s, the 11th Earl of Strathmore and his wife welcomed a child into the world, a child whose very existence would become the castle's darkest secret. This child, born with severe deformities, was hidden away in a secret chamber, so horrifying in appearance that his family could not bear for him to be seen. They called him the monster. And he lived his life behind closed walls, his cries echoing through the castle's empty halls. Some say his spirit still roams the castle, trapped between walls that seem to shift and change, looking for a way out. They say that on stormy nights, a low guttural moan can be heard from within the castle walls, a sound that doesn't belong to any living creature. Those who venture too close to the hidden room speak of a sudden chill, an oppressive presence, and the feeling of cold, clammy hands brushing against their skin. Many have tried to find the room where the monster was kept, but none have succeeded. Instead, they are met with an overwhelming sense of dread and the sound of a whisper in their ear, a single word, eyes. But the horrors of Glamis Castle do not end with the monster. Another ghost said to haunt the castle is Lady Janet Douglas, a noblewoman who met a gruesome fate in the year 1537. Accused of witchcraft by a vengeful King James V, Lady Janet was condemned to die in one of the most horrific ways imaginable, burned at the stake. Her young son, forced to witness her execution, could do nothing but scream as the flames consumed his mother. The injustice of her death has left her spirit restless, and she is known as the Grey Lady. They say she haunts the chapel, her shadowy figure often seen kneeling before the altar, praying for peace that will never come. In 1912, a housemaid named Alice was locking up the chapel when she felt an icy chill, so cold it seemed to freeze her breath. She turned and saw a woman dressed in gray, her face hidden beneath a dark veil. As Alice tried to flee, the chapel door slammed shut with a deafening bang. The figure rose from its knees, gliding towards her, whispering one word over and over, "Injustice, injustice." Alice was found the next day, curled up in the corner of the chapel, her hair turned gray overnight, her face contorted in an expression of sheer terror. And it wasn't just Alice who encountered the Grey Lady. In 1923, Margaret, a skeptical journalist, decided to spend a night in the chapel to debunk the ghost stories. Hours passed, and when they finally found her, she was on her knees, hands clasped in prayer, tears streaming down her face. Her voice was gone, replaced by a low, mournful hum, a sound like a funeral dirge. Margaret never spoke another word. Then there is the tale of Earl Beardy, the 4th Earl of Crawford, a man known for his arrogance and cruelty. One fateful night, after a heavy loss at cards, he shouted that he would play until doomsday if he had to, even if it meant playing with the devil himself. No sooner had the words left his lips than a stranger appeared, a man dressed all in black, with eyes like burning coals. They say the doors to the room were shut tight, and from outside the servants heard the sounds of the game growing more intense, the Earl's voice rising in anger, then fear. The dice rolled, voices shouted, and then a blood-curdling scream filled the castle, a scream so terrible it made even the bravest shudder. When the door was finally opened, Earl Beardy was found slumped over the table, his face frozen in a mask of terror, his eyes wide open staring at something unseen. The room was filled with the stench of sulfur, and the cards had turned to ash. Since that night, the room has been known as the Haunted Chamber. Those who dare to enter have reported feeling a chilling presence, hearing the sound of dice rolling, and an unnatural wind blowing through the room, even when the windows are tightly shut. In 1943, a soldier named Arthur Henderson took a bet to spend the night there. He was found the next morning, alive but shaking, his hair turned stark white, mumbling about the devil's hand, and a game that never ends. And then there's the story of the tongueless woman, a ghost condemned to eternal silence. Her tongue was cut out to keep her from revealing a dark secret, and her bloodied, voiceless apparition has been seen wandering the castle grounds. In 1971, two sisters, Claire and Rose MacDonald, dared each other to spend the night in the castle garden. As midnight approached, Rose felt a sharp pain in her throat, and Claire watched in horror as a figure emerged from the mist, a woman with no tongue, her face twisted in a silent scream. Rose collapsed, clutching her neck, gasping for breath. When she recovered, she could no longer speak, her voice forever lost in that moment of terror. And let's not forget the story of the butler who ended his life in the hangman's chamber. In 1996, Linda Prescott, a journalist determined to debunk the castle's ghost stories, was found standing on a chair with a noose around her neck. As rescuers pulled her down, she kept whispering, He showed me how it ends." They say that if you walk through the castle at night, you can hear faint whispers coming from the walls, voices that seem to be calling out from up beyond the grave. According to those who have braved the halls of Glamis Castle, the feeling of being watched is inescapable. A cold breath on the back of your neck, a shadow flickering in the corner of your eye, or the distant sound of a door creaking open when no one is there. Some claim to have seen the figure of Lady Janet kneeling in the chapel, her face hidden beneath a dark veil. Others have heard the sound of dice rolling in the haunted chamber, followed by a sinister laugh that sends chills down the spine. And then there are those who speak of the tongueless woman, her silent scream echoing in their minds long after they've left the castle grounds. They say that to see her is to invite a fate worse than death, a fate where your voice is stolen, your screams forever trapped in the silence of the grave. Would you dare to step into Glamis Castle, where the shadows whisper your name and the spirits are never at rest? Do you have the courage to face the unknown, to confront the darkness that lurks within these ancient walls? Tell us in the comments. But remember, some secrets are better left buried. Speak the name of Glamis Castle, and you might just find yourself caught in its grasp. Forever. Glamis Castle, a place where history and horror intertwine, where every stone has a story to tell and every shadow holds a secret. Will you be brave enough to uncover them all? If you enjoyed this journey into darkness, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more tales from the haunted corners of the world. Until next time, sleep well if you can.